So we both recently saw Star Wars Rogue One at different times. I saw it with my wife. Who'd you see it with?
I saw it with my brother and a few other people.
Okay. Give me a review. And by the way, this will have spoilers in here. Feel like leave nothing out.
All right. Well, I'm going to be as, I guess, broad as I can at first. It was okay. You know, like, I didn't actually pay for the ticket, so as far as like that goes, great movie.
For the price.
Exactly, dude. Free admission. What? I mean, okay. First off, it follows a character that we've never heard of, at least by name.
Jyn Erso.
Yeah. Her and her family are in like a farm on what looks to be like isolated planet. Doesn't look to be super inhabited.
They have blue milk.
Did they? Oh.
Yep.
Wasn't paying attention to the milk, but that's cool.
They had blue milk in A New Hope too. That's why it was cool. The film is laden with Easter eggs, which are neat.
I like Star Wars. I'm just not like Star Wars. It's the same thing about like
everything about Star Wars.
It's the same thing with Marvel movies. I don't know. Like they're there, I'll watch them. They're not my like favorite thing to watch, but they're good.
Fighting words.
They're good. Like I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying like that's not what I'm usually hankering for. But like yeah, it starts off like that, and then you see like an Imperial ship coming down, and then they're like lurking around. Meanwhile, farm people, they're scattering around and they're freaking out. They're like, oh no, they found us. And little girl gets told like, hey, you know where to go. She's like, yeah. And then she runs off with her mother. And then of course, like the mother and the daughter are running away. And then she's like, okay, go to where you're going. I gotta go die. I gotta go die real quick. But you know what to do.
There's a plan that we're supposed to stick to. How about we do this? How about we just not stick to the plan that we had in place?
Yeah. I mean, like, you could just look at it and be like, she's dying,
She's
right?
gonna die.
Like, where's she going? She's supposed to be in the field. She's not supposed to be... There we go. Okay, yeah. You're going to the field now. And, yeah. Little girl goes, kicks a rock. Turns out it's a secret bunker. She gets in it. Wife goes back for the father. Turns out the father is, like... the main guy they need to finish completing the Death Star. He was one of the original engineers for it, and then he backed out because like, oh, never mind. I don't want to make a planet destroyer. I just want to live a normal life. But they ended up finding him, and they want to take him back, and they want to do it by force. They're looking for his family, so they can probably use that as a bribe. Wife comes out of nowhere. She's got a gun aimed at the main guy. He's got like 3 or 4 guns aimed at her, and he's like, I mean, like, you can do this, you're not living, but whatever. And of course, her character is like, I'm only here to create a sad backstory for the main character. Shoots the guy, doesn't even damage him, like barely scrapes his armor, or like I guess his armor's like,
grazed his shoulder.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well, what are you guys like doing? And they gun her down. And the dude's like, no, stop. Or no, I think he's like crying over her. And then like, they end up taking him. They know that there's still a little girl on the planet. So they go searching for her. They don't find her. They almost do. They get really close to finding her, guys. You saw the foot in the cave. They were there. And then like, random armored black guy comes in the cave. And he's like, come with me. We need to go. 20 years later...
And it never said that, by the way. No. Not once did it say 20 years later.
I actually had, like, the people that I was with, they complained a lot that, like, there wasn't a whole lot explained in the very beginning as far as, like, time or place was, other than planet.
Yeah,
Like, it was just like,
there's
here's the planet, or here's the asteroid.
and I mean, I know some people didn't like the fact that it's a Star Wars movie and there's no opening crawl, bringing you up to speed on the events.
I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I had it in my head. I was like, oh, it was a long time ago in a place far away. I was like, dun, and like I had the theme going in my head. And I was like, oh, we're not doing this.
No, because it's not an episode.
It's like, this is like the one thing I like knew for certain was gonna be. It was like, I guess it's not. Well, I guess I don't know Star Wars like I used to. But yeah, like you said, it's not like something people actually care about. It's just like, oh, we have to cover up the fact that our bad guy's evil ship has a gigantic opening that you send one like proton missile or torpedo into it, and it blows the whole thing up.
I thought torpedoes, by definition, are water-based projectiles.
I don't know.
I could be wrong there.
I guess it has to do with the fact that, I don't know, like,
see,
fire.
and
can fire exist in space?
Well, let me discuss that real quick. Like, for some reason, like, yeah, there's a lot of fans of Star Wars that love to debate, like, oh, you make this thing that has one exhaust port that'll blow up the whole thing. It wasn't completely unguarded. They had to go in the trench run, which had what again? Oh, that's right, laser cannons. Not just laser guns, cannons that like just had to hit them one time.
Yeah, I mean, like, the defenses were all over the thing. There wasn't one thing or one spot on the Death Star that wasn't protected. I mean, I imagine the giant satellite dish wasn't protected, but, I mean, who's going to go to the thing that fires the cannon of death? But, I mean, basically, the movie is explaining why there is the weak point that is in the movie. The guy who they find as the farmer on the planet at the beginning of the movie, he is taken back, and he pretty much finishes the work done on he finishes the engineering work done for the Death Star, and he feels super terrible about it. He's not okay with it, but he knows that if he doesn't, they'll track down
they'll do it anyway.
Yeah,
that was, which I kind of have problems with that logic. Because it's kind of like, oh, well,
if you can do it anyway, why bother hunting him down?
Then why are they gonna hunt him down? It would have bought the rebellion some time, but you just kind of made things go faster. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, he did have the plan to, I'll put a critical weakness where no one will find it.
But he wasn't looking for him. He wasn't trying to be found. So
that is true. Like, how was he planning on getting the rebellion to know?
There's a possibility of just a gigantic plot hole in there. Well, of course, the dude could have been bluffing. He could have absolutely been bluffing. He was like, hey, we can totally build this without you. I don't think he knows that we have no idea how to make this thing without him. We're going to do it without you. No one say anything about not knowing how to make this thing.
Well, isn't that funny? Because it's kind of like you have a plot hole from a movie that was supposed to cover up a supposed plot hole.
Now you have a brand new plot hole. In like 20 more years, we'll have like episode 3 1/4.
Oh,
just like
3.25.
Explaining was like why they want to make the Death Stars. Like
you're gonna make a movie just about Urso. I don't even know what his first name was.
It's just gonna be Palpatine sitting in like his desk and like, crap, what am I going to do now? I have everything here on this planet, but what am I doing? And he like looks outside and he sees like a ball. He's like, that's it. And then he's just like at like a chalkboard or something. Or he goes to like MIT to learn how to like make, I don't know. I'm completely making stuff up at this point. But yeah, dude makes a giant weak point in the, or he goes back and he helps them, but he's the one that designed the fatal flaw in the Death Star, and he put it there specifically so that it could be destroyed, because if he didn't do it, then it basically would have been an unstoppable killing moving moon
killer.
So he decided that better to him work on it and make the flaw that no one would look for it, because why would they need to? than, you know, someone else making it completely indestructible. And basically the movie follows, like, there's a pilot who, the dad sends a pilot with information regarding the thing, or the information that they need to destroy the Death Star. Don't know why he doesn't just give him the plans in the first place, because he has them. But, you know, we'll look past that plot hole.
Oh, man.
I mean, this dude made it out alive.
I hadn't even thought of that. Like, no, you're absolutely right. Like, he gets... The pilot... The whole point of the pilot was to get to the one guy with the robot feet that originally recovered Jin from being in that hiding place where her parents told her to go, and then this pilot was supposed to rendezvous with him. And you're right, Jin's father could have just given him the Death Star plans, or at least told him, like, look, this is the important part of what you'll need.
He even gave him a flash drive. He's like, hey, this has a voicemail on it. Go deliver this. That's basically what he said.
Yeah. Here's a hologram. Make sure my daughter gets it, or it wasn't necessarily just her daughter, was it?
It wasn't aimed. He wasn't trying to give it to his daughter because he didn't know if she was alive or not. But when, like, no one had looked at the message yet, but when they finally, like, look at the message, it's conveniently, like, to her, and, you know, conveniently she is alive and just so happens to be there.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that are just like, oh, it's a good thing that happened.
Yeah, lots of convenient.
Like, it's a good
happen.
thing she got arrested. It's a good thing that, like, the rebels didn't just, like, kill her or leave her there, because, like, why did they... That's another thing. Why did they even bother to break her out? They weren't looking... No, they were looking for her.
They were looking for her.
Yeah. Never mind. So, yeah, that makes sense. But, I don't know. Yeah, her dad could have given him the plans, because he built the thing. He had the plans. He was the one that, like, he's like, oh, here, take this back to the giant moon tower on that one planet protected by a force field. And I'm sure as he left, he's like, crap. Hey, go get me a pilot.
Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe he didn't have the complete plans. Maybe.
The engineer of the...
Well, he's the head engineer.
The head engineer.
But maybe they had stuff in play. I know. I'm trying to give this movie every benefit of the doubt.
I want you to know, I had nothing planned for this. I was just gonna, like, say, I was like, I wasn't, like, totally impressed, but, you know, it was entertaining. Now I've got, like, all this crap going through my head.
Questions.
Like,
I've got questions.
What? That doesn't make any sense. Why did this? Basically, the whole movie happened because the father was dumb and sent the wrong message.
Okay, so
that's my take on it.
So just to sum up the plot more, since we're kind of doing a little bit of a synopsis, yes, Jin gets rescued by a rebel named Cassian. Cassian and Jin are the only two names that I can remember. Oh, and then of course his droid K2SO. Then they go to, is it called? It's Jeddah.
Jeddah,
which is easy to remember because it used to be, I guess, like the center for, like, the Jedi.
Sounds like Jedi.
Jedi, yeah. I can make that connection. So they go there, and it's underneath Imperial rule. This is where they meet the crazy rebel who's played by, of course, Forrest Whitaker. I don't know his name because it's a crazy Star Wars name, and I have to hear it several times to learn it. And not that I'm saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I do not know a majority of the character's name. Like the villain is like Colonel, is it Reddick or something like that. I kept thinking it was Reddit. That was pretty funny, but no, I know that's not it for sure.
Wait, who's
the villain? The like the Commander Reddick or something like that, I think was his name. Oh. The main bad guy who, like, killed her mom.
Yeah.
But they go to the planet, and I guess they go there to enlist the help of this crazy rebel Forrest Whitaker. I'm just calling him Forrest Whitaker, who, by the way, I don't like him. He always seems to play a crazy character because he can't like open his left eye all the way or something like that. Like I don't like him. Thankfully, he's not in the movie that long because he dies. I'm telling you, spoilers here. He dies. Death Star, I guess, with one reactor is able to destroy a city, and they destroy the city of Jeddah. Then they go to. Is it? Oh yeah, and they also pick up like these are actually two cool characters. Except I can't think of their names. I know
Chirrut,
Chirrut,
and Baze Malbus.
Chirrut and Baze. Chirrut is a blind, not Jedi, but like a
Kind of like a monk.
A monk, kind of like a servant of the Jedi, or like a guardian of the Jedi temple there. But
dude's
not
in
a
touch
Jedi.
with the Force.
He's Force sensitive. He's blind. Really cool though. Doesn't use a lightsaber.
Oh yeah,
but uses like
doesn't need
cane
one.
stuff. Doesn't obviously.
I'm sure one would have been useful on that last fight.
Yeah.
Rip everyone.
And then Baze, it also I believe was basically did the same thing, but when the temple fell, he kind of lost faith in the Force, and now he
has faith in his giant ballistic machine gun.
Giant heavy arms. Yeah. So, but they're friends, so they get wrapped up into everything. Then I think they go to the rebellion then they try to actually find her father, Jyn Erso's father. They do. He dies, and he actually gets killed by the rebels. Also, when we first see Cassian, he kills like a fellow rebel because like the guy's like freaking out after like a stormtrooper gets killed, and like Cassian like shoots him in the back. And actually, I thought like maybe he's a bad guy, but that's not what happened. Just rebellions, you have to do things dirty occasionally, I guess.
Yep.
And then to continue with the plot summary, Jyn Erso's father dies. I think he tells them where they can find the plans. They go to Yavin 4 to find out.
No, he doesn't even tell him that. The pilot does.
Oh yeah, the pilot knew all along. They were just trying to rescue him. They don't rescue him. He dies. Lots of bad stuff happens in this movie. So they go to Yavin 4, the base of the rebellion where they currently are. They meet Mon Mothma, who was cast very well. The only thing is, okay, that one guy, like, okay, so you have like Mon Mothma's like the female rebel head. The other guy who looks to be older, I think he was British. Did he not look like the guy from A New Hope that gets choked by Vader when he's bragging about how strong the Death Star is and telling him how stupid the Force is and how stupid it is to believe in the Force? And do you remember who I'm talking about?
I know the character you're talking about. I can't remember his face.
They look almost exactly the same, and I thought, is that the same guy? Because I totally thought that's who that was. But they also have some of the people from Mon Calamari. I believe they're basically the same people as Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. They're part of the rebellion. It's basically going to be like a suicide mission to go to this one place where the Death Star plans are. And the whole planet has a shield, which that would be useful. Why not do that on, I don't know, Endor in episode 6? I'm just saying, like, if you have a planet-sized shield,
well,
that's really handy.
It is. I'm pretty sure it goes away if you destroy the main like source.
Well, yeah.
That doesn't really have a shield around it.
Correct, but you do get to protect a whole planet with just one area that you have to defend. I mean, just something, if they have that technology, why not use that in other places?
I guess it really depends on how long it takes to recharge the Death Star. Because, like, I can see them, like, okay, send out a bunch of like useless TIE fighters,
But the
and we'll blow the shield generator, and then
Yeah.
we'll blow the planet.
yeah. Um, it's just it just kind of breaks logic rules and stuff. But why are we
Oh, look at
concerned
this.
about that?
Uh,
It's a movie.
Everyone dies at the end. Also,
Yeah, I'm coming to that. They go to this place where the Death Star plans are. They manage to transmit the Death Star plans. The Death Star blows up the base with basically everyone on it, but not everyone dies at the same time. Like basically, Kuro or Churro.
I think the first one to go is the pilot.
He dies so randomly too. Random grenade gets tossed into the into the ship that they brought there, blows up. Churro and what's the other guy's name? Bates. Baze. Churro and Baze die within like minutes of each other. Just they get gunned down by stormtroopers. K2SO gets gunned down while
That was kind of sad.
K2SO's death. Well, he's a good character.
Yeah.
K2SO gets gunned down. And then, of course, did you ever find out his name? Is it Reddick? Colonel Reddick?
I didn't.
Anyway, Colonel Reddick, I guess he like gets stopped by Cassian and Jyn. They transmit the plans, and then the Death Star blows up the base with them on it, and they die in a fiery wall of death. I'm hearing a lot of people say that this is either their favorite Star Wars movie or their second favorite Star Wars movie. And I'm going to make an assumption here, an educated assumption, that I'm betting that their first or second favorite to go alongside this one is probably Empire Strikes Back. The reason why I say that is because Rogue One is definitely, easily, the darkest Star Wars movie that they have made to date. I don't see that as a good thing necessarily. The whole point of the movie, like the tagline, if you want a tagline for the movie that keeps popping up, it's rebellions are built on hope. It's like they keep having to tell you this through the movie because the movie is in all regards hopeless. Now, yes, everyone dies in the end. And a lot more people die throughout the movie. I mean, a city gets wiped out. I mean, it does kind of... What I do appreciate that the movie does is it does make you realize, like, yeah, the Death Star is kind of a big deal because, you know, in A New Hope, you see it blow up Alderaan. Do you care about Alderaan at that point? No. You kind of start to care about it from the prequels. What's that? The prequels did something right? Yeah, they actually did several things right. But one of the things is they actually gave Alderaan a backstory. And actually, one of the neat things was you had Senator Organa he had like a small appearance at the Rebel base. Did you recognize him? From the prequels! No, we acknowledge that they exist. Yes, they exist. You don't like them. I'm sorry. Just get over it. So that was neat. I did appreciate all the Easter eggs. I liked that you saw the Death Star being constructed still. I'm going to go through all the positives because that'll take less time. I like the casting choices. Mostly. I didn't like all the characters. Except Forrest Whitaker. Can't stand that guy. I just can't stand him. He's got the same stupid expression. Happy, sad, mad. It doesn't matter. He's got the same dumb expression on his face. I love the fact that Mads Mikkelsen was cast as Jyn Erso's father. He's an excellent actor, and he's in everything right now, and I'm totally okay with. You've got... Okay, that's a negative. I'm sorry. It's hard to think of the positives among the negative. Sorry, if you're looking for a glowing review, this is not the place to find it. Aside from the plot holes, K2SO. I loved K2SO. Possibly my new favorite Star Wars droid. I would go so far as to say he may just be the best thing of this movie.
When I first saw him, I was like, actually, no. When I first saw him, I just thought, I was like, okay, big scary robot. And then, like, he made, like, his first joke. I'm like,
that first joke was great.
I was like,
so
this is the guy. And by the end of the movie, I actually, like, I was sad when he died. And I was like, oh, he was actually, like, kind of good.
Because he does, he's a repurposed Imperial droid. And someone who saw the movie before I did, they described him as, like, imagine C-3PO, but with, like, even more sass. And, like, but being able to, like, actually fight. And yeah, that pretty well describes him. The first joke is hilarious because is it Cassian? Yeah, Cassian, who's kind of like the leader of this little band that gets together, aside from Jin. He gives Jin a gun, but he doesn't give K2SO a gun, and K2SO, of course, he wanted a gun, but when they are getting ready to leave and take off, he's his co-pilot, and K2SO tells him, would you like me to tell you the chance or the probability of her using that gun against you? And Cassian doesn't say anything. He just goes, they're high.
It's very high.
They're very high. And I don't know if you know this, but Alan Tudyk did the voice and motion capture for K2SO. And Alan Tudyk, you ever see Firefly?
No.
Ever see iRobot?
Yes.
Did Sonny.
Oh.
Yep.
He's the voice actor for Sonny.
Voice actor and motion capture for Sonny.
What?
Yeah, Alan Tudyk is great.
How did he do the motion capture for this droid?
He had something that was taller than him that
because I was gonna say his body was like weird because like
much taller,
more hunched over. His shoulders were more up.
He was on stilts, believe it or not.
Really?
He wasn't. He didn't wear something taller. They put him on stilts. Apparently, the guy can walk on stilts. But his performance and the character were great, and I enjoyed Churro and can't think of his name. Baze. Although I like Churro a lot more than I like Baze, but they had like a dynamic going between them. Could have used more of that in the movie. The pilot was a waste of time.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Okay.
He did nothing.
My three main the three characters that I have a big problem with in this movie are the pilot, which I don't even know his name. All I know is his hair constantly looked like it looked bad.
I'm not gonna lie, when I was looking at the characters in the cast, I think they just used his actual name.
Well, his hair always looked ratty and stringy and thin and in a mess, and like it's like, what, you guys don't have showers in a galaxy far, far away?
To be fair, he wasn't treated super well.
No, he wasn't, but I mean, like, come on, like, dude, like, clean yourself up at some point. I mean, like, not like everyone went through a lot in that movie. Why do you still look like you just crawl through a minefield? That's what I don't get. Totally flat character. He had a little bit of development. He was a coward and he kind of overcame his cowardice only to get killed. Pointless character. I'm sorry. Pointless. And then you mentioned the plot point, or the plot hole of he could have just taken the plans. Oh, so great. Then you have Cassian. Cassian or Cassius.
I think it's Cassian.
Cassian. Yeah, he was a dark character. People are referring to him as a Han Solo type. He had no charm. he was a flat character. No development. No just no personality. Like, anyone could have played that role. Like, he doesn't have any lines that define who he is as a character. He was simply like the means to an end. He was written about as deeply as a side character that you might see in one or two scenes. Like, he had no character at all, in my opinion. Jin, also flat character. All like her big thing is to, I mean, first she's trying to find her, I guess she's trying to find her father, but not really.
She wasn't looking for him.
She's a drifter. She's just a drifter in the beginning of the movie. She had ties to the rebellion before. She left those behind. Then, and the only thing that can really get her back into it is hopes of finding her father. So that gets her back into it, and then her father dies in front of her, but then she starts to believe in the rebellion. It's just very lazy writing to me. Like, and she barely had any dialogue. She doesn't talk that much in the movie.
No.
And I know this movie went through a lot of reshots. I'm wondering, like, how much of that was, like, for the person who's like the face of the movie, the main character of the movie, I kind of feel like she had the least amount of dialogue among the main cast, which is super strange.
I'm sure it's hard to, like, I don't know, like, it's hard to make a movie, and I'm sure it's hard to make a movie about a bunch of people who end up dying in the end and basically have, like, no other function in that universe other than
to set up for a different movie.
They basically they're just a message. The whole movie is just like, hey, how does this message get to them from them? It's like, oh, these people.
Yeah. And
they're a physical letter sending a message.
Right.
Which is this whole movie. And it's just like, how did they get the information? How was the loophole found out? This is how. They died.
Yeah. Oh, I remember two positives from the movie. I liked the fact that they brought in the idea that the Death Star's laser was actually made by the same crystals that the Jedi use in their lightsabers.
I thought that was also pretty cool.
That was actually a part of lore from the extended universe. I remember reading a book called Darksaber, which was about the remnants of the Empire trying to build a third Death Star, but it was just going to be in the shape of like a giant lightsaber handle and fire from that. Because the idea was the Death Star was too big of a target. Why not make something smaller that can still destroy a planet?
Yeah, I'm just imagining like
a
toy lightsaber from like Walmart just floating in space, causing death and destruction. And there's like a 5-year-old kid at the hand of it. And it's like, hey! Just press the button.
Like really low budget Star Wars.
Yeah.
But that's from that book. That's where I found out, like, oh, okay, this is neat because that's why it was called Darksaber.
Was the Death Star beam in this movie, was it red?
It was green.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was. I remember that in 7 it was red for their.
For the Star Killer.
Yes, Star. Totally different thing. Totally different.
Which they shouldn't have called Star Killer because that's the name of Darth Vader's secret apprentice.
Yeah.
The last
totally gave
name.
him away. No longer secret apprentice.
And I know the reason why they called it. They used Star Killer was because that was actually Skywalker's original name when George Lucas was developing the story. So that's a callback to that.
That's pretty cool. Okay, wait. Speaking of Darth Vader,
I was going to say
the best part of that whole movie was Darth Vader at the end. The whole reason
he was in 2 scenes.
I know he was in 2.
I thoroughly enjoyed both of them, to be honest.
I'm sorry, when he said that pun about don't choke on your like
aspirations.
I was like,
I thought that was exactly what that dude needed to hear.
In my mind, as soon as Darth Vader did that, I imagine like just I forget what it's called. Like gray filter, like pixel sunglasses come in, and then like Snoop Dogg starts playing in the background, just like Thug Life. I was just like, really, dude? Did you just choke him? And like, don't choke on your aspirations.
Don't choke on your aspirations.
And then turn around and just like, yeah.
Yeah, I that didn't bother me, but I know what you're
It didn't bother me. It's because puns in general make me cringe. So it's like just to hear someone that evil just be like, just say that. I imagine like deep down he's like giggling inside.
Well, because then you just kind of expect him to like kneel down next to him while he's still choking and be like, "I'm saying this because I'm choking you right now with the Force."
That sounds like something you'd hear in Spaceballs.
And I think that you are reaching too high.
Up top forces him to high five.
Up top. But no, the scene where he is trying to stop the rebels from leaving on Tantive 4, and he is just destroying them. And I loved how they introduced him. Like, it's dark in that room, and then you just hear the breathing, and then the lightsaber comes.
The coolest.
Oh my goodness. Darth Vader has never looked cooler.
If you see this movie, don't go see it for the story. You know the story. They get it from someone, and then it gets sent to R2-D2, and then it gets sent to the planet, whatever.
It's not important.
That was the coolest part of the movie. Because in the 4, like, you see that happen, but it's not as
It's
cool.
the stormtroopers doing all the work.
Exactly. They're shooting lasers, and then he, like, walks in, and then he, like, force chokes a dude. It's like, find them.
He doesn't even force choke a dude. He just picks him up.
Totally. They're trying to run. These guys are trying to run. They're trying to, like, they have, like, the message in their hand. Like, we gotta get this out of here. And then they get attacked. And then they get boarded. Then power turns off. Like you said, breathing, bam, red lightsaber. They're all freaking out. They're losing their minds.
I think the cruelest thing he did, because he's crushing them against the wall with the Force. Remember that temper tantrum that he has at the end of episode 3, where he just goes crazy and starts destroying like all the machinery in the room with the Force? That's kind of what he does here. Except to people. One guy, so yeah, he's throwing people around. He is cutting into them with the lightsaber. One guy, he slams him against the ceiling with the Force, and then as he walks by, just casually just cuts him right in half. I'm like, this is the Darth Vader that everyone knows exists, but we rarely ever see. So yes, movie is worth it just for that scene. Those are the two other things though that I wanted to mention that were good about the movie. I just feel like how many characters were just either non-developed, like they don't go through a dynamic thing. It's kind of like, yeah, like they're treating it like it's not an important story, and you would kind of think that it is. And then everyone dies in the end. I'm not saying that you have to have like every single movie be like a bed of roses. You know, you don't have to have like everything be hunky-dory at the end of the movie. But I kind of feel like, I'm being honest here, the people that think Empire Strikes Back is the greatest Star Wars movie ever, I've never understood that. Empire Strikes Back is to me, let's look at what happens in Empire Strikes Back. Han gets tortured before he gets frozen in carbonite. He's betrayed by his best friend. Luke gets trained to death by a Muppet who by the way, who doesn't shoot straight with him. He doesn't say like, he's like, hey, go into that cave. You don't need any weapons, really, because I just got attacked by a dark side vision of my father, who, guess what, was armed. And if I didn't have my lightsaber there, I might be dead right now. Who knows? The little green guy doesn't tell him anything. So that happens to Luke. Loses his hand, gets the snot beat out of him. Like, honestly, the best part of that movie was like the reveal that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Yes, that was cool. doesn't make it the greatest movie ever. Like, a lot of dark stuff happens in the movie, not to mention the fact that it doesn't have an ending. It just stops. They rescue Luke. Oh, I got a new robotic hand. End of the movie. We're gonna go save Han.
I actually have like dark memories of that movie.
Yeah, because it is and I kind of feel like the same people that like Rogue One are the same people that like really hold Empire Strikes Back in high regard. And it's just like, do you just like to see Star Wars characters like suffer and like you like to see the rebellion like losing people?
I agree with
that.
everything you say, but the reason why it's more dark for me is because my dad actually got me and my brother this like cassette. He got us like the cassette tapes of all the movies, and for some reason he thought like it was cool that we had those, and it was like cool to listen to them like while we were driving to like listen to the Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically it was like it was a book. It was like reading the books to us. But someone thought it was a good idea to play those while we were trying to sleep at night.
Oh my goodness.
And like every time I think of that, like I don't remember hardly anything of that movie, but whenever someone mentions like Luke getting his hand chopped off, I always remember like listening to that cassette tape and just hearing like the really creepy like wind sounds when he's like hanging by that antenna when he falls down. That's the most disturbing thing you can hear when you're about to go to sleep, is a dad slaughtering his son, sending him down like a funnel to basically go down into a planet of gas, which is probably poisonous. And he's just dangling there with like creepy, ominous music, and he's just sitting like, I'm all alone, I was like, I'm gonna die. Or he's like trying to contact
you don't see Luke in a lower place than that.
No.
But yeah, to me, like, it's just like, I don't understand people that like want Star Wars movies to be dark, and like the idea that, oh no, Return of the Jedi is a terrible movie because it has Ewoks in it. Because you don't like Ewoks? Yeah, exactly. They're supposed to be Wookiees. Well, Wookiees honestly would have been a bit overkill, don't you think? For the stormtroopers that can't shoot things that are 6 feet away. Yeah, they would have been owned by the Wookiees. Kind of made it a bit more dramatic that it was Ewoks. Yeah, but it was for marketing purposes. Who cares?
What isn't for marketing purposes?
The movie is for marketing purposes. You think that do you honestly think that George Lucas made his money off the movies? No, he made his money off of all of the merchandising.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's how movies work. Sorry. Especially kids' movies. Which, by the way, Star Wars is kind of supposed to be a kids' movie. I guess they just forgot about that when they made this, but
I could see episode 1 being a kids' movie.
Episode 4 is kids' movie. Space Princess, Space Wizard.
Yeah, I could see that.
Space Sword. Kids' movie. I'm not saying that there's not room for this kind of thing. It's just, and I'm not saying that I won't like eventually like own a copy of this. I'm just, and I don't think it was a bad movie. I don't think it was a bad Star Wars movie. It's just kind of low on my list, to be honest. What's your final verdict?
I mean, if you've got nothing better to do and you really like Star Wars, it's not a bad movie, but if you're not particularly like wanting to go see a Star Wars movie, I wouldn't spend $11 on it.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go see it early in the day so that you can at least get a better price on it, or
if you're one of these people that really likes Empire Strikes Back, you're gonna really like this movie.
Or if anything, go see it for Darth Vader, for like the 30 seconds of awesome that is Darth Vader.
Yeah. That is the best part of the movie.
That was everything that happened was worth it. There's some funny characters, there's some cool characters, there's some cool moments. Like, I feel like we've been ragging on this movie a whole lot. It wasn't a bad movie. There's some really cool stuff in there. There's just like nothing's perfect. There's always going to be stuff to complain about, and that's just what we're doing. We're just like speaking our mind on things that is like, look, there are these things that don't make sense. We're going to talk about them. We're not going to pretend like Star Wars is this perfect child of God that like no one can touch. It's like, no,
It's the same as anything else we talk about.
Exactly. We just spend a lot of time talking about it.
A lot of time.